The fifth seal. John says, "When the Lamb broke the fifth seal, I saw underneath the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and because of the testimony which they had maintained. And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, 'How long, O Lord, holy and true, will you refrain from judging and avenging our blood on those who dwell on the earth?' And there was given to them, to each of them, a white robe, and they were told that they should rest for a little while longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who were to be killed, even as they had been, would be completed also." Do you guys want to know why God specifically, losing my train of thought here. I've been talking for an hour, 30 minutes. It's a long time. Do you guys want to know why God, specifically Jesus, the Son of Man, had to bring judgment upon Jerusalem? Scripture tells us why. This is found in Luke 18, verses 1 through 8. "Now he was telling them a parable to show that at all times they ought to pray and not to lose heart, saying, 'In a certain city there was a judge who did not fear God and did not respect man. There was a widow in that city, and she kept coming to him, saying, "Give me legal protection from my opponent." For a while he was unwilling, but afterward he said to himself, "Even though I do not fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow bothers me, I will give her legal protection. Otherwise, by continually coming, she will wear me out." And the Lord said, "Hear what the unrighteous judge said. Now, will not God bring about justice for his elect who cry to him day and night? And will he delay long over them? I tell you that he will bring about justice for them quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?" The word earth here can also be translated as the word land. Jesus in this parable is describing the swift judgment that would befall the unbelieving Jews of Jerusalem, and that his elect cry out to him for vengeance upon them. This is, of course, the same image that we see here in Revelation 6. What else did Jesus say about these things? Luke chapter 21, verses 20 through 22. Jesus said, "But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those who are in the midst of the city must leave, and those who are in the country must not enter the city, because these are the days of vengeance, so that all things which are written will be fulfilled." Jesus said, "These are the days of vengeance." The same vengeance that the martyrs of the fifth seal were crying out to God for. What else did Jesus say? Matthew 23, verses 34 through 36. "Therefore, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, so that upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation." Jesus makes it clear many times that judgment would fall upon that same generation of unbelieving Jews. The ones who denied him. The ones who crucified him. The ones who share the same guilt of murdering the righteous people of God. The ones who persecuted the early church after Christ's ascension. Blood was on their hands, and God's wrath was upon them. In what way did Jesus bring his wrath on that generation? Through the means of another wicked nation. That nation was Rome. But Waldy, Jesus said these things would happen so that all that was written would be fulfilled. Are you implying that all of the Old Testament has been fulfilled already? No. And I don't believe that's what Jesus meant when he said that. The context of what Jesus was talking about in that phrase had to do with the judgment that would befall Jerusalem. So when he says, so that all things which are written will be fulfilled, he meant all things that were written pertaining to Jerusalem's destruction. And that's not me picking and choosing or trying to reinterpret what he said. It's literally what the immediate context would have us conclude about what he meant. But Waldy, what prophecies was he referring to then? Let's look through them now. This next prophecy is kind of long, so please bear with me. This is found in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through 37. And I think I might need some water for this one. This is God speaking to the nation of Israel. But it shall come about, if you do not obey the Lord your God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes with which I charge you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the offspring of your body and the produce of the ground, and increase of your herd and the young of your flock. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and rebuke in all you undertake to do, until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly, on account of the evil of your deeds, because you have forsaken me. The Lord will make the pestilence cling to you until he has consumed you from the land where you are entering to possess it. The Lord will smite you with consumption, and with fever, and with inflammation, and with fiery heat, and with the sword, and with blight, and with mildew, and they will pursue you until you perish. The heaven which is over your head shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you, iron. The Lord will make the rain of your land powder and dust. From heaven it shall come down on you until you are destroyed. The Lord shall cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will go out one way against them, but you will flee 7 ways before them, and you will be an example of terror to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your carcasses will be food to all the birds of the sky and to the beasts of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will smite you with the boils of Egypt, and with tumors, and with the scab, and with the itch, from which you cannot be healed. The Lord will smite you with madness, and with blindness, and with bewilderment of heart, and you will grope at noon as the blind man gropes in darkness, and you will not prosper in your ways. But you shall only be oppressed and robbed continually, with none to save you. You shall betroth a wife, but another man will violate her. You shall build a house, but you will not live in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but you will not use its fruit. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will not eat of it. Your donkey shall be torn away from you, and will not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given to your enemies, and you will have none to save you. Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, while your eyes look on and yearn for them continually. But there will be nothing you can do. A people whom you do not know shall eat up the produce of your ground and all your labors, and you will never be anything but oppressed and crushed continually. You shall be driven mad by the sight of what you see. The Lord will strike you on the knees and legs with sore boils, from which you cannot be healed, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. The Lord will bring you and your king, whom you set over you, to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. You shall become a horror, a proverb, and a taunt among all the people where the Lord drives you. This what the Lord said continues in Deuteronomy 28, verses 49 through 68. The Lord will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as the eagle swoops down, a nation whose language you shall not understand, a nation of fierce countenance who will have no respect for the old, nor show favor to the young. Moreover, it shall eat the offspring of your herd and the produce of your ground until you are destroyed, who also leaves you no grain, new wine, or oil, nor the incense of your herd or the young of your flock until they have caused you to perish. It shall besiege you in all your towns until your high and fortified walls in which you trusted come down throughout your land, and it shall besiege you in all your towns throughout your land which the Lord your God has given you. Then you shall eat the offspring of your own body, the flesh of your sons and of your daughters whom the Lord your God has given you, during the siege and the distress by which your enemy will oppress you. The man who is refined and very delicate among you shall be hostile toward his brother and toward the wife he cherishes and toward the rest of his children who remain, so that he will not give even one of them any of the flesh of his children which he will eat, since he has nothing else left during the siege and the distress by which your enemy will oppress you in all your towns. The refined and delicate woman among you, who will not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground for delicateness and refinement, shall be hostile toward the husband she cherishes, and toward her son and daughter, and toward her afterbirth which issues from between her legs, and toward her children whom she bears, for she will eat them secretly for lack of anything else, during the siege and the distress by which your enemy will oppress you in your own towns. If you are not careful to observe all the words of this law which are written in this book, to fear this honored and awesome name, the Lord your God, then the Lord will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants, even severe and lasting plagues, and miserable and chronic sicknesses. He will bring back on you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were afraid, and they will cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which, not written in the book of this law, the Lord will bring on you until you are destroyed. Then you shall be left few in number, whereas you were as numerous as the stars of heaven, because you did not obey the Lord your God. It shall come about that as the Lord delighted over you to prosper you and multiply you, so the Lord will delight over you to make you perish and destroy you, and you will be torn from the land where you are entering to possess it. Moreover, the Lord will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone, which you or your fathers have not known. Among those nations you shall find no rest, and there will be no resting place for the sole of your foot, but there the Lord will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and despair of soul. So your life shall hang in doubt before you, and you will be in dread day and night, and shall have no assurance of your life. In the morning you shall say, would that it were evening, and at evening you shall say, would that it were morning, because of the dread of your heart which you dread, and for the sight of your eyes which you will see. The Lord will bring you back to Egypt in ships, by the way about which I spoke to you. You will never see it again. And there you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but there will be no buyer. Question: have these consequences of disobeying God befallen Jerusalem? Yes, they have. Twice, actually. Because it says in this prophecy, the Lord will bring extraordinary plagues upon you and your descendants. This happened twice. Everything described here is exactly how the nation of Israel was overthrown by Babylon in the Old Testament, and everything that is described here is exactly what Josephus described took place during the time of the Jewish War between 66 to 70 AD. It's a dual fulfillment prophecy in that its descriptions of God's judgments upon Israel are similar to Revelation's descriptions of God's judgments. If you guys are curious about in what ways Babylon brought these things upon Israel, you can read about it within the last few chapters of Jeremiah, as well as the book of Lamentations. I'm sure it describes it in other places as well, but those are the main ones. For this video, and for the rest of this series, we'll be focusing on how Rome was the second fulfillment of this prophecy of judgment. The foreign nation that came upon them as an eagle was the nation of Rome. Interestingly enough, Rome's main standard of a Roman legion depicted the image of an eagle. And if you don't believe me about that, you can look this up for yourself. Because it says that the nation would come upon them like an eagle, as the eagle swoops down. I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm sure with Babylon it happened in the symbolic sense. But with Rome, it happened also kind of in the symbolic sense, but in the kind of literal sense. Rome's own symbol of their armies, of their legions, was an eagle. I don't think that's a coincidence. Not only that, but the nation here in Deuteronomy came in with a language the Jews would not have understood. The main language of the Romans was Latin. The Jews knew mainly Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. Very few of them, if any, would have understood Latin. This nation that God describes in this prophecy would seize their city and tear down its walls and bring desolation to the land. Once again, Josephus' Jewish word describes these events in great detail. Now, what about the part that says, "The refined and delicate woman among you, who will not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground for delicateness and refinement, shall be hostile toward the husband she cherishes, and toward her son and daughter, and toward her afterbirth, which issues from between her legs, and toward her children whom she bears. For she will eat them secretly for lack of anything else, during the siege and the distress by which your enemy will oppress you in your towns." Do we see any example of this in Josephus' writings? Unfortunately, we do. Huge viewer discretion for anyone that's listening to this. What I'm about to say is kind of graphic and disturbing. I'll leave a timestamp on the video where you can skip ahead if you'd rather not hear it. Let's read what Josephus had to say. Took place. There was a certain woman that dwelt beyond Jordan. Her name was Mary. Her father was Eliezer of the village Bethizab, which signifies the house of hyssop. She was eminent for her family and her wealth, and had fled away to Jerusalem with the rest of the multitude, and was with them besieged therein at this time. The other effects of this woman had been already seized upon, such I mean as she had brought with her out of Perea, and removed to the city. What she had treasured up besides, as also what food she had contrived to save, had been also carried off by the rapacious guards, who came every day running into her house for that purpose. This put the poor woman into a very great passion, and by the frequent reproaches and imprecations she eased at these rapacious villains, she had provoked them to anger against her, but none of them, either out of the indignation she had raised against herself, or out of the commiseration of her case, would take away her life. And if she found any food, she perceived her labors were for others, and not for herself. And it was now become impossible for her any way to find any more food, while the famine pierced through her very bowels and marrow, when also her passion was fired to a degree beyond the famine itself. Nor did she consult with anything but with her passion and the necessity she was in. She then attempted a most unnatural thing, and snatching up her son, who was a child sucking at her breast, she said, "O thou miserable infant, for whom shall I preserve thee in this war, this famine, and this sedition? As to the war with the Romans, if they preserve our lives, we must be slaves. This famine also will destroy us, even before that slavery comes upon us. Yet are these seditious rogues more terrible than both the other. Come on, be thou my food, and be thou a fury to these seditious variants, and a byword to the world, which is all that is now wanting to complete the calamities of us Jews." As soon as she had said this, she slew her son, and then roasted him, and eat the one half of him, and kept the other half by her concealed. This is found in Josephus' Jewish War, Book 6, Chapter 3, Paragraph 4. Did what God say about mothers eating their own children take place during the Jewish war? Unfortunately, it did. What's even more disturbing is that Jesus himself alluded to this very thing. Matthew 24:19. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. The events that Jesus spoke of in Matthew 24 and Luke 21 were about the Jewish war. Are there any other prophecies that mention the same destruction that would come upon Jerusalem? Here are some others. Some would argue these are also a form of dual fulfillment. Jeremiah 29 verses 1 through 4. Woe, O Ariel! Ariel, the city where David once camped. Ariel here means Lion of God or Jerusalem. Add year to year. Observe your feasts on schedule. I will bring distress to Ariel, and she will be a city of lamenting and mourning, and she will be like an Ariel to me. I will camp against you, encircling you, and I will set siege works against you, and I will raise up battle towers against you. Then you will be brought low. From the earth you will speak, and from the dust where you are prostrate your words will come. Your voice will also be like that of a spirit from the ground, and your speech will whisper from the dust. This next one is found in Jeremiah chapter 19, verses 6 through 11. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when this place will no longer be called Topheth, or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but rather the valley of slaughter. I will make void the counsel of Judah and Jerusalem in this place, and I will cause them to fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hand of those who seek their life. And I will give over their carcasses as food for the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth. I will also make this city a desolation and an object of hissing. Everyone who passes by it will be astonished and hiss because of all its disasters. I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they will eat another's flesh in the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their life will distress them. Then you are to break the jar in the sight of the men who accompany you, and say to them, Thus says the Lord of hosts, just so will I break this people and this city, even as one breaks a potter's vessel, which cannot again be repaired, and they will bury in Topheth, because there is no other place for burial. When God says here, I will give over their carcasses as food for the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, it brings to memory what Jesus said when describing the events that would befall Jerusalem in Luke 17. This is why I'm convinced these prophecies are dual fulfillments. Luke chapter 17, verses 31 through 37. On that day, the one who is on the housetop and whose goods are in the house must not go down to take them out, and likewise the one who is in the field must not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Whoever seeks to keep his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will preserve it. I tell you, on that night there will be two in one bed, one will be taken, and the other will be left. There will be two women grinding at the same place, one will be taken, and the other will be left. Two men will be in the field, one will be taken, and the other will be left. And answering they said to him, Where, Lord? And he said to them, Where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered. Where will these individuals be taken? To the grave. They will be killed. And the birds of the sky will feast on their flesh. As I mentioned in my Matthew 24 video, this passage isn't referring to the rapture. It's referring to the destruction of the wicked of Jerusalem. Let's go back to what Daniel 9:26 said. Then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing, and the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and its end will come with a flood. Even to the end there will be war, desolations are determined. And he will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until a complete destruction, one that is decreed, is poured out on the one who makes desolate. The city and the sanctuary was prophesied to be destroyed. At the hands of who? At the hands of one who comes on the wing of abominations. Do you remember what we said before about what the symbol of the Roman legion was? That's right, an eagle. On the wings of abominations will come one who makes desolate. Now, who could that one be? Rome, along with its legions, who would bring a siege to Jerusalem and destroy it completely in 70 AD. If none of what I've shared convinces you that what these passages are referring to is the Jewish war between 66 and 70 AD, then nothing else will. But Waldy, what about the plagues of Egypt that God said he would bring upon them? Surely none of that has happened, especially not in the Jewish war. I'm strongly convinced that those exact plagues did come upon Jerusalem in that time. Those plagues came upon Jerusalem in the symbolic sense, within the trumpet and bowls of wrath judgments in the chapters after this one. And by this one, I mean after Revelation 6. In what way? We'll find that out in the next session. For now, let's look at the last seal that was opened and see if we can figure out what it means. We're almost done here, guys.